How's everything going? So hey, in this video, we're going to talk about family relationships and how you can argue in family relationships, but yet still keep the peace. Think about it. A family is something that you either love sometimes or you hate. And then actually sometimes you actually feel both of those emotions. You know, in a family, you got to remember, you're a lot of times always around each other. There's always opportunity for there to be conflict. There's always opportunity for somebody to get on your nerves, get up under your skin. Why? Because they know you. They've been around you long enough and they kind of know how to push certain buttons. But just like in life, just like in every other thing, we're going to find ourselves having arguments. We're going to have our opportunity to find times where we're going to have some conflict. We're going to be challenged in some ways. And so in this video, I want to talk about how you can have those challenges, how you can have these arguments, okay, but still maintain the peace. And so listen, as a family man who had brothers and sisters who grew up, you know, understanding that even in your best efforts, somebody's always going to misunderstand you. Even in your best efforts, somebody's always going to confuse what you meant to say, and they're going to turn into what they heard. And so here's going to be a couple ways for you to think about things that you should do as you continue to as you find yourself in a situation where you may have some arguments, but you want to continue to stay in peace. Number one, you want to stay in contact with one another. It's very easy. Okay, it's very easy for us to just fly away. It's very easy for us to run away. You know, that whole fight or flight syndrome, if you have a challenge, you have a situation, it's easy to run away. But in a family, it could be very different because you think about it, even especially if you're living under the same roof, everybody's still going to see each other. And so the tendency to run away, like you may do a stranger, you may do a colleague, you may do somebody else that you really don't care about as much, in a family, you're going to find yourself being in a situation that you just can't go anywhere. And so one of the best ways to have this argument, to have arguments, disagreements, challenges, and still maintain a peace is you got to stay in contact. That just basically means even if you are having you're at a point of disagreement, still maintain connection with that person. Still reach out to them. Even if sometimes you got to say, hey, I'm just going to go down, I'm just going to communicate with them just through birthdays, just through anniversaries, just through special events. Whatever it may be, the most dangerous thing to do, the thing that'll give you the least amount of results that you want, is to separate yourself and disconnect with them. So the first thing to be able to have an argument, but yet still maintain a peace, is to stay in contact with them. The second thing is basically to be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. You know, it takes more. It takes a bigger person to say I'm sorry than it does just to stand and defend yourself. And so when you think about the conflicts, understand, be the bigger person. See, I challenge you. In these situations, find a way that you can be the bigger person. And one of the ways I found out to be the bigger person is when you find yourself in a challenging situation, instead of using the term, you did this, you did that, start with what you did. First, start with what you did. Be accountable for what you did. Start out by thinking, what could I have done differently? What could I have done differently to change the circumstances? Or what did I do to contribute to the situation? And more times than not, I found out that when we come to the other person and we start off by saying something like, you know, hey, I'm sorry that we're in this situation that we're in. I'm sorry that's confusing for whatever it is. There ain't nobody to blame, but here's what it is. I realize that I could have done this better. Or I realize that this is what I added to it. See, here for some people that can be very hard. It can be very hard to first put out the fact that you could have did something different because we like to blame someone. We like to blame someone majority of the times because we don't really understand ourselves yet. And we haven't come to terms with who we are and the fact that we make mistakes. But if we realize and when we realize that we make mistakes, the way you keep the peace in the family when you have arguments is to be the bigger person. You know, that may mean to say, hey, I'm sorry. That may mean to basically just do something kind for that person. You see, living life and the quality of life that we have is an inside job. The most effective way that you can live your life peacefully starts on the inside. And so when you do things of kindness, when you do acts of kindness, acts of being patient, loving someone, giving someone, forgiving someone, those things allow you to become that bigger person. And guess who at the end of the day, who benefits most? Not so much the other person, but you do. And so number two is to be the bigger person. Number three, okay, is attend family events. It's very easy for you to get into an argument. He's like, you know what, man, I'm not going to that birthday party. I'm not going to the family reunion. I'm not coming over. I'm not doing that. But that's one of the worst things you can do. my recommendation is continuously attend the family events. Continue to attend the family events. I remember me and my brothers and sisters, man, we had, even our adult life, we had a situation where we didn't come to terms. It was a situation where my mom was sick. My mom was sick in the hospital, and everybody in the family, we were all hurting on the inside because she was hurting. And you can imagine how it is from a mom, when she don't understand what's going to happen with her, and she's reaching out to her kids. And then also you got the kids. Everybody has a different relationship. Everybody got their own things going on in life. Everybody got their own situations, problems, challenges, whatever. And so when your mom or somebody in the family is saying, hey, I need help, it's very easy for us to assume and associate that somebody else is going to do some work. Or it's very easy for us to project to somebody else what they're going to do. Well, how many of you guys know when expectations don't mean reality, then disappointment set in? So I'll never forget this time when my mom got sick, and she was going through the hospital, and all the family members, we decided to come together, and we decided to try to air some things out. And we tried to say, hey, what can we do to help? And everybody had the desire to help. Everybody wanted to help, but not everybody was in a position to help. And so what happened at the end of the day is that it all fell on me. It all fell on me to do certain things. Well, I got to a point where I said, listen, man, we're all in this thing together. And so one thing led to another, and all of a sudden you got people with different opinions. We got people with different ideals of what this person supposed to do, that person supposed to do. How many of you guys know already that you can only control what you can control? You can't control or project somebody else to do anything. And so through that time, there was some conflict, because one of my brothers said, you know what, we're going to do this for my mom. But in them doing that for their mom and for our mom, they started to think about certain things. They started to be able to say, you know what, I'm doing this because nobody else wants to do this. And in their own thinking about it in that way, in that mindset, in that perspective, it started to draw a wedge. And I say all that because what started out as a good thing, which is us rallying together to help a family member, turned into a bad thing or a challenging thing because we all had our own perspective. We all had our own place and our perception and how we saw it. We all had our own assumptions. We all had our certain expectation of what somebody or what should happen. And when expectation didn't meet reality, came disappointment. And so next thing you know, you had individuals not talking to one another. We didn't reach out, although we still had to help my mom. And then we wind up having a holiday. And at that holiday, everybody, you can imagine, they started to contemplate, man, whether I should go or not. See, there was such of a disdainment on the inside. There was disappointment on the inside. You see, as a family member, as a family, you grow together. You've overcome so many things together. There's an emotional tie. It's something about family that when they disappoint you or they don't do something right or they seem like they attack you in some way or you feel attacked in some type of way, that thing seemed to hurt a little bit more. And so when you have family events, it was very easy for us when we were coming together for, I think it was a Christmas holiday, it was very easy for us to decide, man, I'm not going. I'm just going to spend time over here. But I'm glad to know that at that moment, we all decided, you know what, we got to go. We got to go. Because although we can have differences of opinion, we have to be able to come to agree to disagree. And at the end of the day, what was the better goal? What was the more focused goal? The thing was, we have to stay together. And so one of the ways that you continue to have family challenges and you go through arguments, but yet you keep the peace, is you got to attend the family events. And so as we attended that event, one of the great things about it, just by us being there, we didn't talk much about the disagreement. We played cards. We didn't talk about the disagreement. We talked about stories. We didn't talk about the challenges we had. You know what I mean? We enjoyed time with our mom, our kids, and each other. And through that, what wound up happening, that through that common union, that choice we made, decision we made to come together, the situations we had, we were able, by the end of the night, we were able to address the situation and come to an understanding. And so again, when you're going through challenges, don't turn away, don't run away. Attend the events, attend them, because just you being able to do that by an act of your own will does something amazing for the family as a whole. And the next one, is one of the things that can keep the peace and challenges is air your grievances. Find a time in which you can share with one another. Growing up, we used to have family meetings. And that was a time, and during these family meetings, and even now, in the family meetings, even with my own family, having a family meeting where we all sit around Okay, we all sit around, and there's a couple ways you can do it, and I'll just kind of share a couple ways that I do as well that seems to help. So one of the ways is when we come around and we sit down and we all just have a piece of paper, and on one side of the piece of paper we talk about, you know, what is the situation. We put at the top, you know, on one side, what is the challenge, okay, and then we put underneath there, what do we feel that the other person did in that situation. What did they do to us? We start there, and then we put next to it, what do we think? How do we think we added to that situation? You see, here's what I'm doing first. By first putting down what we think the other person did, that's usually the place most people start, so they can just throw that down there. But then we move from there, and we say, well, what do we think we added? How do we add to that? What do we contribute to that? And then after we all have it on a piece of paper, then we stand up and we stand up or sit down and kind of go around the room. What do we feel happened? And then we take turns talking about, hey, here's what we thought that person did. And then we read off the piece of paper what we did. Here's the power of that. The fact that it's written down doesn't allow us to change our mind in mid-sentence. It doesn't allow us to get caught up into somebody's body language as we're talking and then all of a sudden just get sidetracked. But what it does, it allows us to stay on point, it allows us to stay on message, and allows us to get it out there. But it also allows us to take personal responsibility for what we did. And so when you air your grievance, you have to air your grievances in a way that there's somebody that can listen to it non-judgmentally. There's somebody that can help interpret what it is that you're trying to say. And so that's one of the ways we wrote things down. Another way we had is we had a grievance, man. We went to one of the family members or a friend, somebody that we knew loved us, someone that we knew that had the ability to listen to this non-judgmentally. And we basically got agreement from them, which was basically asking them the question, hey, if I'm going through something, it's really tough, it's really challenging, but I don't think the other person is hearing me. Would you mind communicating? You know, if I tell you what happened, do you mind communicating it to them? Okay, and then that person says yes, then they ask the other person the same thing, and then that individual, the mediator basically hears both sides, and then they're able to communicate the message and the intention. But in that situation, by having somebody as a mediator, I found that that's one of the greatest things you can do. And so we did it with our family. Okay, to take it another step further, you can do it with a professional. You can have a professional, a counselor. I basically call them coaches. No matter where I ever went in life, I always had coaches. I had a strength coach who helped me with my strength. I had a speed coach helping me with my speed. I had a head coach that basically put strategy and planning together. I had a position coach that helped me with my individual position. And I also have a marriage coach that helps me in our marriage, to help talk out things, walk through things, help each other and understand what we're saying, because we all hear based off of the filter of our experiences. And because that's so true, sometimes it's hard to hear the intentions or the desires of the other person. So having somebody there. And so again, airing your grievance is important to still have an argument, but understand that you're still focusing on maintaining the peace. The next thing is don't gossip. Yes, it's very easy for something to happen and you start running off telling somebody. So what the rule of thumb is, man, is take it to that person. Take it to that person. Now, you may not be able to take it to that person right away. You may need to give yourself time. You may need to start with your heart first and say, where am I at right now? Am I in a building? Am I in a place where I can actually air out how this has hurt me, what it is that I'm thinking, what it is that I want to do, how do I want to resolve this thing? Am I in a position to do that? And if you are, then fine. You go to that person. If you're not, give yourself some time, okay, and then go to that person. But the last thing you want to do is you want to gossip. Because if you start to gossip, by the time that message gets around, right, by the time it gets around, it's already changed, and it's never usually better. How about that? You ever have a situation like that? Where you have a situation with somebody, and you tell somebody, and by the time you get it, it comes back around to you, the situation has changed. And how many times it's usually changed for the worse. They exaggerated what you said. They exaggerated how you feel. They're exaggerating what they believe you said about the other person. And so again, in that situation, the rule of thumb is not to gossip. And the very last thing and challenge or strategy in which how you can maintain the peace in the middle of arguments, especially with your family, is accept what you cannot change. Accept what you cannot change. You see, the only space in the universe that you can control, okay, is the space that you occupy. The only person you can ever control is you. The only person you can change is you. So you might as well accept what you can't change. You know, I remember when I was going through situations with, you know, whenever we go through family challenges, and I was having a situation with my daughters, okay, and there was misunderstanding. And I wanted so badly for them to understand my heart and my intentions. But no matter how much I tried to explain it, they always heard through the filter of their feelings, through the filter of their experiences, through the filter of their perspective and understanding. And so I had to get to a point where I had to say, Donovan, did you do everything you can do? Did you lay it out there for them to digest it? Did you share your heart, and were you totally honest? And if you were, then you have to put your hands up and say, you know what? I surrender, and then I receive whatever is about to happen. You see, you can't change anybody else. You can't do it for anybody else. But what you can do is you can focus on you. And so again, know this, in a family, we're going to have challenges. It's a natural part of life. Remember this, there is no change without the challenge. You need it. Diamonds are made under pressure, although it doesn't feel good. But one of the greatest things about our life of living in this earth is the fact that your family is here forever. Family is here to build you up. Family is here to strengthen you and encourage you. And sometimes when family are acting like strangers, just know this, that sometimes your family may not be those of your blood relative. They may be people that you've embraced, people that's been here to take care of you, people that are here that really love you, and it could be your friends, it could be a coworker, it could be a mentor, it could be a mentee, it could be somebody, a total stranger. That could be family. But just know this, we're going to have challenges. You're going to argue, but you may have an opportunity to always focus on the peace. Listen, I'm Donovan Darius, former 10-year NFL player, professional life strategist, motivational speaker, and coach. And it is my pleasure, my desire is that you receive what you need out of this. So you tell me, what are some of the things that you did? What did you take out of this message? What are some of the things that you're willing to do? And what are the things, some of the highlights that you had that you feel like, wait a minute, I can do that. And I want to give it a try. And in giving it a try, I'm going to make it come to pass because I love my family. And I love my family. Love is an action word. I got to do something. I got to do something to become something. And sometimes it's just being. It's just being and saying, you know what, I made up my mind and I'm moving forward. So listen, if you like these messages, if this is encouraging to you, go ahead and like it, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and go ahead and share it with somebody. Share what you learned and then apply it. So listen, I appreciate you guys, man. Love you to life eternal. I'm Donovan Darius, man. You know what I'm saying? As we continue to live, you know what I'm saying? Living all pro in all areas of your life. Thank you guys. Be blessed.